be the concern of the backbone as far as the legislatures are concerned. So let's look at our executive. The only thing that rings true in that word is the last syllable, thieves. That is all that rings true, because all they do is steal blindly, mindlessly. They are completely shorn of vision, and I'm not talking just about the one that is sat at the top. It's a pyramid of thieves. That the best of them sits at the top of it does not make any difference, because there are little or no exceptions wherever you turn, from local government chairmen all the way to the presidency. Governance is not about the people. It is about keeping the power, the rulers, in power and in luxury. So the state of our nation is that today, oh sorry, me too, I use that horrible word. The state of our state today is simple. The man who is the sum of the parts of each and every one of our winners is the one that is sat at the top of the pile today. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or the man known as Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has a lot of baggages around his neck. But I will go as far as to say that there is no president that has sat in that office that didn't carry one bit or the other, or something similar to what this one is carrying. So if you focus on this person, yes, it's very odious, you will be missing the point. The point is that the system can only produce the worst, because the system is designed to produce exactly that. That is why you find them binding together to produce the very best of them. Let me share something with you. In the days before his coronation, I was writing a piece and I titled it "The Nigerian Jollof." And the argument I was making in that piece is that just as the best part of the ingredients, the flavors, the condiments, goes to the base of the jollof, that is how the worst of us are the ones that rises into government offices. And in this case, the very worst of the worst is the one that has become our president. But he is us. That is the sad reality. He is us. That is who we have become. Those you would have expected to stand up as vanguards of society, your pastors, your imams, leaders of thought, yesterday's men who spoke truth to power, who would have yelled themselves hoarse if this was someone else. They all found the grace. In some cases, they didn't just keep quiet, they deodorized the skunk. So he is us. That is the state of our nation. A certificate forger, identity thief, drunk money launderer, somebody of no provenance sits in our highest office. And the reality of the matter is that that is who we are. He is the sum of all of our parts. We may kick against it from now to kingdom come. And yes, I know we didn't elect him. I'm not suggesting we did, but our society has tolerated it. We've accepted it. Our judiciary, each and every one of those black-robed people that you see wearing wigs, from the lowest of them to the top, they endorse that. That is who we are. That is the state of our states. From the youngest lawyer to the highest, the Sansan to the new wig, that is who we are. When history is written, and generations from now, they read of the place called Nigeria, and remember by then, no FBI file is kept secret forever. So what we knew, even when there were no files out in the open, we know enough as a people, if we were actually a people consumed by virtues, possessed of shame, this wouldn't have happened. But this is who we are, and that is where we are. So today, the state of our executives is that we have thieves, legally ensconced in power. But I have not talked about our judiciary. You know, I am told that the judiciary, in fact, we recited it so many times, it became a mantra. The judiciary is the last hope of the common man. Common man. See this guy behind me. Yeah, in the portrait. Those of you who've heard the story before, you know, I bought the drawing somewhere in Abuja. I was captivated by the look in the eye of the subject, deviance. He pushes a wheelbarrow, and he was taking a break from his labor when the artist captured the image. So he sat in his wheelbarrow. You can't see the eye, but the eye, there is defiance in his eye. Dignity of labor. He is what you would call the common man. And then you say to him that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. So it means that when you might have taken everything else away from him, he is left with the hope that he will be able to stand before a judge, some impartial arbiter who will deliver justice to him. The judiciary is the last hope of the common man. That is what the saying goes. You'll find multiple references in the Bible where God exalted judges to do justice. Same thing in the Quran. Every religious tradition holds judges in the highest of esteem. I once read the story of some ruler. I believe it was a Persian ruler who caught his chief judge in the act of stealing and was going to execute him. But he asked him to ask one favor before he was going to be killed. And CJ said, okay, can you please make my son my successor? And the ruler said, okay, no problem. He'll succeed you. So he had him killed. And the day they were going to swear in the new CJ, the ruler gave him a seat. Told him this is your official chair. But guess what? The chair was made from the skin of his executed father. That's a true story, by the way. Maybe if something like that happens in Nigeria, some people would understand the importance of doing justice. It does not surprise me, and I am not pained, because I have warned you multiple times about the reality of the fact that our judiciary is no different from our police or our custom. But it was critical that you went through the process, and I was one of those who insisted within the Obi campaign that we must go through the court process, because it was critical that the courts be completely exposed as the fraudulent bastion of corruption that it has become, so that that last hope is taken away from you and you understand very clearly that there is no hope in the Nigerian judiciary. Let us be clear. So I'll leave that for my closing. So the state of the Nigerian judiciary, and it's not something that happened during the election cycle. It's been there. It's been like that. Long before Bola Ahmed Tinubu showed up in the presidential election, the Nigerian judiciary had been sufficiently lost. Don't take my word for it. Olumide Akpata was busy at the International Bar Association conference. That's the former NBA chairman. He He was busy. He had a lot to say. You might want to go take a listen. And then there was Justice Datijo, 47 years in the judiciary. There's nothing I have to say today that he didn't say already at his own valedictory. I had an interview with Arise TV long before there was a Peter Obi presidential bid. And I was asked a specific question, my opinion of the current CJN of Nigeria. I was clear in declaring his incapacity to deliver anything close to justice. And my reasons were very simple and straightforward. He's incapable of doing so, either for reason of corruption or incompetence. He has no capacity to deliver justice. There was no Peter Obi at the time. So do not politicize what I'm saying today. So let us be clear. What I am saying is that there is a complete failure of governance, and we're steering a failed state in the eye. But beyond the legislative arm, beyond the executive, beyond the judiciary, the average person goes through life almost totally unconcerned about what is going on around them. And that is even in environments where government works to awaken the consciousness of the people. But in our own environment, you find that the average person, who are actually the victims, the primary victims of the horrible governance systems and the horrible evil ruiners, you find that the persons are blissfully unaware of why they are the way that they are. You even find that they are the loudest in defending those who have enslaved them and that you might be engaged in fighting or even identifying so that they might better understand the issues. So what tends to happen is that the victims are almost always in the army of the oppressor, and they are the most dangerous when it comes to extricating ourselves. Earlier last week, there was a video that was going around, and it was of a particular young man who was lamenting the high cost of an asthma drug. I believe it's called Seretide. And the anguish with which he cried out was met largely with laughter of derision by most of us, particularly my obedient friends. We took joy in watching him teach us lessons, just like they said during the campaign. Yeah, it felt good for a lot of people to see those they considered as being on the other side, suffering. But the reality is that he is more hurt than he is ever them. I believe later on that same day, or as the matter progressed, I saw a video of the same young man busy sucking on his lower lip in a private jet. He probably got a ride during the campaign with one of the ruiners. And by association, you know, sometimes when you vicariously enjoy life, you begin to imagine that you are part of those who are enjoying the spoils of office. I guess the reality is that after the election, those to whom he had access and who each ride in private jets have moved on. The young man is awake today, at least is awakening on Toria Jaja. All the noises we were making, all the warnings we were giving, the exertions, it was for this, so that we might all be free. But it was lost on them. Now, let it not be lost on you. When you see those kind of things, avoid clothing. They are as much victims as me and you. So if you gloat, what you do is that you push them further back into the arms of those who would use them as soldiers in their battles against us. That's the first one. Second thing is, how would you be any different from those who felt that they were somehow vindicated because Obi's victory was snatched by rigging? These are people with whom we're fighting or should be fighting common causes. It is the inability to understand the commonalities and exactly how we ourselves are connected to these battles that mostly lead us to take fun or be disinterested in the many battles that are raging in our space. Wọ́n torí àjàjà láwọn wo ló ń jalè kúlé o. Who are the people fighting in my backyard? The Nigerian backyard is the totality of our society. That thing that is happening, and you saw it in the police, and you said, oh, call me. It crossed and was happening in the custom, call me. It has come everybody. And cool everybody, the backyard of each and every one of us is the country in which we live. So today's Sunday school is the Yoruba, centered on the Yoruba scripture. Okon everybody. It is everybody's fight. It is not just for one person. So that's Sunday school all over now. So at least as far as that one is concerned. So we got a couple of minutes. What do we do with that? Oh yeah. There is something I've tweeted about a couple of times or posted something or the other on social media a couple of times. I speak to it only tangentially because of our common humanity. I believe we have enough problems of our own without looking to stick our noses into what is going on next door. But what is happening in the Middle East, Gaza particularly, would be affecting us in Nigeria. It would affect us in the cost of the fuel that we'll be paying. We're importing. So if we're importing and they have to continue stealing, and even though subsidy has been removed, subsidy has been restored, quote and unquote, we don't know which is which, the prices would affect us. Point I want to make is this. If Hamas is a terrorist organization, and I believe it is, and what it did in Israel on October 7th, in spite of whatever justification it might offer, was terroristic in the extreme. However, what Israel has proceeded to do in Gaza is nothing short of genocide. Our common humanity demands that we must speak these truths. Said my piece. Those of you, especially my Christian fundamentalist brothers who will be telling me about the peace of Jerusalem, go ahead and be quoting whatever you can. Call me. So, good morning, everybody. It's 10 o'clock now. And during the course of the week, I believe it was very early in the week, after a lot of introspection, I came to an inevitable conclusion. At least I believed it was time for you to hear it. We can't vote our way out of the mess we're in. It's completely impossible. It is impossible to vote our way out of the current mess. But because I don't want to be derailed, I will not speak at length to that subject. It's probably going to be the topic for my sermon next Sunday. But today, to lay the foundation for that argument, I believe it is critical to do this one. And I have titled it, Nigeria, the State of the States. In a more developed society, in a true country, my title should have been perhaps Nigeria, the State of the Union, or the State of the Nation. But the reality is that Nigeria is anything but a nation. It is even hardly a country. Nigeria is a state without citizens. But it is critical that we examine the state of this state, this dystopian nightmare that we call our country, the land of our birth, and in most cases, the land of our captivity. And that you have escaped does not mean that you have escaped the captivity of Nigeria, because Nigeria is insidious. It lives in you. It's inside of you. Some of you are in Finland. I know some. There is a gentleman always coming in from the UK, somewhere around, I think, somewhere in London. I see him Anslo sometimes. He tells me, oh, he's here from Anslo. They are the ones who are most current about what is going on in Nigeria, because Nigeria eats into you. Even when you've escaped, you can't really escape Nigeria. So it is critical that we examine the state of what is essentially the prison of our lives, whether that be physical or mental. Nigeria is essentially a prison for the Nigerian. It is not a country. It is not a homeland. It's not a motherland or a fatherland. It fathers nobody, and it's certainly not a mother unless they're talking about murderers. So at the end of the day, Nigeria has a territory, but it has no citizens. That is the unfortunate reality of Nigeria. So if we say Nigeria has territory, but it has no citizens, you will recall, if you spent any length of time in my space, that I have taken time to explain why, in spite of the fact that you hold a passport that declares you a citizen, in actuality, you are not. I've tried to explain this in the past, but for the benefit of those of you who are just joining us for the first time, let me be clear. You can only speak to the fact of citizenship in spaces that are governed by law. If the law does not rule in a space, you really cannot speak to citizenship, because citizenship is undergirded by the declaration and actuality of equality before the law, equal access to justice, the rule of law, which means that even the state and its agencies are subject to the rule of law. That is when you can speak to citizenship. So unfortunately, the Nigerian is not a citizen because the law does not rule in the Nigerian space. So let's now deal with the actuality of Nigeria one by one. What is the state of the Nigerian state? A state functions first based on the rule that has been agreed to administer that space. In Nigeria, we are lacking in any such laws. What pretends to be a constitution in Nigeria is Decree 24 of 1999. It declares falsely that we, the people of Nigeria, there was no time that any such thing happened. So let's settle that first of all. But that charter, as fraudulent as it is, even though it was enforced and forced on each and every one of us, what does it say about the governance of the Nigerian state? It clearly recognizes three divisions of the state, the three arms of government. It speaks to the legislative arm, it speaks to the judiciary, and it speaks directly to the executive. It sets out their powers and it delineates their functions. So if we're examining the state of the Nigerian state, how about we look at the state of its legislature? Let's start with the Senate. At the head of our Senate sits a man who is on record one of the most corrupt persons in the history of governance in Nigeria. He is the Senate President of Nigeria today, Senator Akpabio. To get him into that seat, multiple laws were broken, but each and every one of them were, of course, upheld by the body charged with interpreting our laws, the judiciary. So you've got a problem that is already ensconced in legislative and if I'm speaking to Akpabio, it's merely as a metaphor for the whole, for the collective. I spare none. Labour Party, PDP, APC, whatever, they are all the same. Once they are in that place, it is clear that this has become a clear battle of we and them. Because when they get into that place, the first thing you need to ask yourself is this: what are they doing there? As urgent as our issues are, the legislatures found time to approve all kinds of horrible, wicked expenditures, and they were praying monies into mail boxes to cushion the hardship of those who are already living the buttered life. In a season when, in one sentence, a man unelected by us but forced upon us had declared hardship, summarily removing subsidy. I don't know who is subsidizing who, we subsidizing them, but they removed subsidy. In the midst of all of this, while Nigerians were still groaning with no palliative of any sort in sight, they were making fun of the poor. Let the poor breathe. That is the state of the legislature, completely useless and unfit for purpose. The only thing the legislature is doing is taking care of their own kind, provision and appropriating monies to ensure that the rulers are kept in style. So,
this country is going backward, how much APC and the current government is taking Nigeria backward. I don't know how many of you listening to me now were conscious or a little bit grown up or exposed, whether you're 5 years then or 6 years then or 4 years, in the 1983 era of FEDECO. You understand? In those days, it's just about a card that is called the voter's card, the registration card. And anybody can stay there, one person, register 1,000 people, and take that, bring the ballot paper in his house, thumbprint all of them, and submit. We thought we have seen it in INEC in the era of Maurice Iwu, but Maurice Iwu is an angel in the era of this INEC. And where the policy of the government and the judiciary has taken us is the worst that I can ever. I ran into a friend sometime this week, and he said to me that there is an adage that when the lawyer himself is corrupt, the system is gone. And I think that is what we are suffering in Nigeria today. The judiciary is the worst. And because the judiciary is the worst, we really, really, really need intervention in our country, because the place we are supposed to run to get to get a fresh breath of air is actually the place where we're losing it. Of course, you people have heard about what happened in Kano State. It's no longer news. The appeal court has upheld the removal of the sitting governor based on the judgment of the tribunal. The tribunal that said that the only one party was overvoting for one party, and they declared the result. You know what? Ifema, could you give me that particular video of what happened in Zamfara? And we can use Zamfara to connect with Kano, and use Kano to connect with the former NBA president and what he said about the judiciary. And why it is important for us to listen to the former NBA president is because he said, as an NBA president, he used to sit when they interview people to be hired as judges. So I am not trying to gaslight. I am not trying to just say things that are not founded. I am bringing empirical information. If the former NBA president, this is the second NBA president has spoken now. Olisa Wakoba has spoken extensively as the former NBA president. And this young man who is currently campaigning to become the governor of Edo State was also a former NBA president. And the retired justice of the Supreme Court, just before he removed his gown, spoke extensively of the rots in the judiciary. So I can boldly say that we have a very rotten, smelly, stinking judiciary. And what do I expect from Nigeria? Give me that video, please, and let's discuss.
Appeal in Abuja has declared the March 18 governorship election in Zamfara State inconclusive, which produced Dauda Lawal of the People's Democratic Party as governor. In a unanimous judgment, a three-member panel of justices of the court voided the declaration of Lawal as the winner of the election. Bello Matawale and the All Progressives Congress had faulted the decision of the tribunal, which affirmed the election of Lawal in the March 18 governorship election. Justice Sibyl Nwaka, who read the lead judgment, ordered that a fresh election be conducted at the Maradun local government area of the state and in other areas where elections were either cancelled or denied at all. The court held that using IREV information to declare Lawal as governor without polling unit results was unlawful, illegal, and unconstitutional.
Okay.
Part of 4 words of Birimagaji and part of Bukuyolu.
Let's pause here. That's all we needed to hear from this video. Did you hear that? Using IREV information is unlawful, illegal, and unconstitutional. Using IREV information is unlawful, illegal, and unconstitutional. That is what the court, the appeal court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria declared. A sitting governor was declared a governor based on the result found on the IREV. And the IREV copy is supposed to be a snapped and uploaded copy of the original. The law says when there is a dispute, the Electoral Act said when there is a dispute, you have to recourse to what is on the IREV. That is the Electoral Act. But the Supreme Appeal Court judge says now that they have had a recourse to what is on the IREV, that is unlawful, illegal, and unconstitutional. This is a new Nigeria we found ourselves. And do you know why? The reason is because the Supreme Court, in order to install their choice president, had set the bar high. You know, we may not be happy with this appeal court judge. Can you hear me, please? If you can hear me, can you just wave your hand? Good. We may not be happy with this appeal court judge, but you see, everything they said in this judgment is under what the Supreme Court has upheld. The Supreme Court, when I listened to this news and I heard about this declaration, the only picture I could see was a murderer with a spear destroying, murdering someone. And when I looked closely, it was our judiciary, our Supreme Court, that was murdering a nation called Nigeria. That's the only way. If I'm a cartoonist, that's what I'm going to paint. Nigeria was a nation yearning for fresh breath, looking forward for life. And for some reason, credit to the former President Buhari, even though he didn't want it he didn't want to suffer it. Buhari saw the potency and the power of this new Electoral Act. So he made sure he did not allow it to come in his era. But he wanted to use it to clean whatever negative legacy. You can imagine if this election had ended the way it was intended to end in the mind of Nigerians. And the new government is running now, doing things, revamping the economy, creating jobs, moving the nation forward. Everybody would have been saying, yes, even though Buhari rubbished our economy in the past 8 years, but he left us one legacy. He was able to restore to Nigeria an electoral path that is credible enough, that gives Nigerians power and ability to elect who will govern them. But as I always say on this platform, the other APC who want to continue to perpetuate themselves against the intentions of Nigerians hijacked that particular system. And they hijacked the judiciary. And the judiciary with a statement, the Supreme Court with a statement in the case of the presidential elections litigations, where they insist they must install who they desire, kill the law. And because they kill the law, you know what? Tomorrow, we are going to look for our program on the night before the judgment of the appeal court on the presidential election. We are going to revisit it again so that the things I said, maybe about 1 minute of the clip will be played. Because I remember that night before the judgment of the appeal court, which is the court of the first instance in the presidential election, I said that my fear is one thing. Not that if the court says that upheld the election declared in favor of APC and Tinubu as their presidential candidate of the February 25th election, that is not only the presidential election that is going to affect, that it's going to be a seed that will scatter and begin to grow in all the states. You remember that statement? Because the court would have empowered the governorship election petition tribunal and the appeal court going forward, because you can't say anything that will be below what appeal court has said. And that is exactly what they did on that day. They delivered the judgment. And that is what has empowered people, the judges, to begin to say all kinds of things. Things like NYIC coming to say the certificate a man is parading, we did not give it to the person. And the court says you gave it to the person and you must accept it that you gave it. That is the Nigeria we have today. Things like INEC graciously declaring results based on the result that is on the IREF. And the court says it is unlawful, it is unconstitutional, it is illegal. That is the new Nigeria we found ourselves, because of the Supreme Court and the Appeal Court. Things like what happened in Imo State over the weekend, where there is no accreditation, where there is no vote, but over 50,000 votes were churned out. And you know what? The court will uphold that particular election. This is the new Nigeria we found ourselves. The Nigeria of APC era. The Nigeria that does not care. The Nigeria where the judiciary, though they could subtly go against the law, but this time around, they look us in the face, they crucify the law, and they line up their children to take over from them when they are gone. Can you give me that video of the former NBA president? Let's listen to him live, what he said when judges are being recruited. Now, connect it with what Supreme Court Justice Datijo said, and also connect it with the former NBA president, Olisa Abakoba. There is a going that says that by the testimony of 2 or 3, a case is established. Let's play that video, please. Let the nations listen.
Very correctly, is that it is a major problem that we are confronted with in Nigeria. And Nigeria is the largest black nation on the earth. And what happens in Nigeria has major implications the world over. And so forgive us for fixating on this problem just for a little bit. Because we think that the IBAB, the global voice of the legal profession, has a role to play in dealing with what I call judiciary capture. Because while I was president, what I found out was that there is a deliberate attempt on the part of the political class in Nigeria to capture the judiciary. And that has very insidious, very invidious consequences for the rule of law in Nigeria. And it is deliberate, it is intentional, and it is achieving results for them. And what we find is that, firstly, from the point of view of appointments, as president of the bar, I sat on the interview committee for
this video is free.
And what I saw was bizarre. And as Tunde has said to us, that a good judge will emerge in Nigeria out of that process is by fluke only. Sheer luck of the draw, as it were. And we're playing Russian roulette with judicial appointments in Nigeria. It's ridiculous. And so we're hoping that the IBA would accept, don't take my gospel, or don't take what I say for gospel. IBA should ascertain that what we say is correct and then lend its voice. The process of appointment, 1. 2, the impoverishing of judges in Nigeria. Remuneration. I don't even want to tell you what a judge earns in Nigeria. Meanwhile, they're still at the upper echelon of society. They're still considered to be elite. Their kids want to go to Cambridge, Yale, and Harvard, but they definitely can't afford it. But I assure you that their kids are in Cambridge, Yale, and Harvard.
Speak it.
So your guess is as good as mine as to how those kids get there.
Okay. Can we come back now? Let's unpack this few seconds or minute speech. It says there is a deliberate and intentional plan by the political class to hijack, to capture our judiciary. And that this judicial capture is yielding result to them. If I heard him correctly, he said, as the former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, that he has sat in the interview where judicial officers, judges were appointed. And the only way he can declare it that it is a fluke. And that the only way the judiciary can survive in Nigeria is by sheer luck. That is, when you see the way the judicial officers, judges were appointed, you can see that this nation is deliberately programmed to lawlessness, disregard of law. And that it will take sheer luck for us to survive as a nation. What does he mean? Justice Datijo, a retiring justice of the Supreme Court, explained it. He says, the reason is because they don't hire based on merit. They don't hire based on qualification. They hire you as a judge if you are their child or their friend or their mistress. Now, before a judge, Justice Datijo was reading his valedictory speech. He was not speaking offhand. He was reading it, which means he wrote it. Or even if someone wrote it for him, he knows the word he was trying to pronounce. And for him, having sat on the bench until he retired and having been in the ministry of justice for 47 years, he knew that they hire their brothers, their sisters, their relations, their own blood children, and their mistresses. He was not mincing word. Chidiodin Kalo said it, that including this year, the judges that were hired this year in the High Court, one of which was the Chief Justice of the Federation's son, his own blood son. He hired him. He was the representative of Oyo State. That there are many people who passed the exams who were boycotted, and those who did not pass the exams were given the position. And that there were other occasions when people who did not even as much as write the exams were hired against those who wrote and passed the exams. That is the makeup of our judiciary today. And the man who is sitting there as the Chief Justice of the Federation is not hiding it at all. Because the thing we are complaining about, he just did it. He just made his son a judge. His son is the best in the whole of Oyo State. And see the kind of judgment they are reeling out. They don't care about justice. They are abusing the authority by using their gavel to declare what is not to be and what should be not to be. That's what they're doing. An appeal court judge used his mouth to say, after reading the Electoral Act that the president signed into law from A to Z, the summary is that IREV result is illegal, is unlawful, and unconstitutional. Do you know that when you do something that is illegal, that is unlawful and unconstitutional, you should be arrested? So by implication, what the judge had just said is that if you see anybody who touches Beavers again, anybody who uploads any information to the IREV, or anybody who calls on the result that is on IREV, arrest him, police, because he's doing something illegal, something unconstitutional, and something unlawful. What nation are we in? And then again, this guy who just finished talking now says that the pay for the judicial officers are small, but those in the high echelon, they're still able to send their children to Cambridge and to Harvard and to Yale. How do they make the money? Justice Datijo told us there is enough money in the judiciary. We should ask questions to those who are writing the check. Now, Barrister Olisabakoba, SAN, said that when you go to the NJC, it looks like a 5-star hotel. But when you come to the court, even judges are using candle to write their judgment. What nation have we found ourselves? And now, finally, before I leave Zamfara State, this governor they are trying to remove now is the head of the government of the Zamfara State now that has been talking about how the former governor was using the people's money to sponsor terrorism. That's why they want to remove him. Because he's exposing what the former governor of APC did. They want to use the judiciary to remove him. Remember the guy from Adamawa State that said that because he fought against same religion ticket, that he was one of those people earmarked to be removed. And they will use the instrumentality of the judiciary. Who? It means that if the judiciary is now an instrument, it means that the executive and the legislature, which is the politicians, are the people who use the instrument. The judiciary have reduced themselves to instrument. No wonder the judgment we are getting today is technicality.
Doc, I want to bring in one video because this thing is happening across the country. It's not only in Zamfara and Kano. It's just across Nigeria. You see, all the places that the judiciary has delivered judgment or ruling as regards to this last election, you need to see the kind of ruling. So much controversy everywhere. Honestly, there was a country called Nigeria. We don't have a country at the moment because we were looking at the judiciary as the only governmental body that can help to rescue Nigeria. But now they've teamed up with the ruling party. They've teamed up with the politician. And the masses are like asking, who do we run to? Somebody was talking today. He said, if you want to win an election in Nigeria, just be a friend to the INEC chairman. Once you are a part of him or you have something to do with him, even if you are not popular, you end up winning. And when you go to the court, especially if you belong to this ruling party, you will be affirmed. Your victory will be affirmed, even if you got it from anyhow, grab it, snatch it, run with it. you will still be allowed to rule. So we don't even have a system called electoral system. We don't have elections in Nigeria. And one keeps wondering, which way, where are we heading to, Nigerians? Where if we cannot come out to exercise these rights that the Constitution gives us to choose our own leaders who we think, can serve us better. Look at what happened in Liberia today. A sitting president was ousted. Can that happen in Nigeria? It can never. Despite the fact that they ran neck and neck, as in the competition was really tough. They were having almost the same margin. But you can see that at the end of the day, even the European nation and other observers, they were saying that the election was peaceful. It was peaceful. That's just it. Look at the last elections that we had, the governorship, and everywhere was on fire because we were just conducting election in 3 different states, just 3. INEC couldn't manage it. Security agents couldn't manage it. The whole thing just escalated. Nothing was brought under control. That's the kind of country we have. We had a country called Nigeria. As at the moment, we don't have a nation. And that is just what, like I've always said, we have to start discussing because they are already strategizing for 2027. This is just, they just want to take over these states from the PDP and make them APC. Don't forget that of Plateau State, an APC member was seen boasting that they are going to remove the governor of Plateau State. So you can imagine if they take Kano, they take Zamfara, they take Kano, they take Plateau, they must have taken all the states. Maybe it's only the southeast that may be a bit difficult for them. But we have more population in the north. They must have taken most of these northern states from the PDP using the judiciary. So there was a country called Nigeria. As at the moment, I must say we don't have a nation. We don't. And under the leadership of the current president, I just wonder the kind of Nigeria we are going to have going forward because they are just desperate to have like a one-party country. Let it just be APC everywhere so that they will be able to secure their victory in 2027. Don't forget that it appears Atiku wants to come back again. Atiku was saying that this was the last election was going to be his last attempt to run. But from the look of things, because I listened to Mr. Dane Bwala, a lawyer who speaks for him, he was saying that if Atiku is not on the ballot, count me out of the PDP. He's already criticizing some of the PDP members who are dancing to the tune of the APC because it appears they are feeling that the PDP is not really strong enough. So some of them, from the look of things, they want to jump over to the APC. So they are going close to this government and he is criticizing them, but he's saying that he's standing with Atiku. But he will finally leave the PDP should Atiku not be given the opportunity to run in 2027. So the whole system is messed up. You ask me why these old men want to come into power. I don't know, because they have no clue on how to handle the issues in Nigeria. Look at this government coming in, the Naira is sliding, everything is just going wrong in Nigeria. And up to today, they are not implementing, there's nothing, no step in place to take care of all these things. And people have been shouting. When you go to the social media, people are reminding them that they didn't come for debate. There was no discussion on the economy during the campaign. They didn't come for, they didn't meet with the people. Like Peter Obi will hold town hall meetings and, meet with students, meet with business people, speak to them, tell them what he's going to do and how he's going to do it. And currently, they are looking for ideas from people like Peter Obi. So let me just play this video because this guy is just saying his own mind and what he's saying makes a whole lot of sense. And I want us to just...
2023 elections and the fireworks in the Supreme Court. Of course, I am armed with the new jurisprudence of election in Nigeria, which the Supreme Court has laid to rest by reconfiguring democracy. And with that landmark judgment, election in Nigeria now means INEC. So if you want to contest election in Nigeria, you have to lobby INEC, you have to go to INEC. That's the decision of the Supreme Court. That INEC, even if they make bylaws regulating election, that they are at will to jettison it even at midnight and declare anybody, and you cannot hold them accountable. So I think politicians should learn this judgment. They should study the judgment and understood that there is a radical departure from what is called elections in Nigeria. So I'm busy trying to study it, and I have been advising those who are interested in elections to campaign in INEC offices, try to befriend Professor Mahmoud, because anything outside this, we're not going to get justice. Justice is more or less an enemy in Nigeria. And I think that explains the plethora of challenges we have, from unemployment, hunger, poverty, insecurity. All this is as a result of the absence of justice. So we talk more about peace, forgetting that the justice is the foundation of peace. Therefore, we are here to discuss how people-centered justice mechanism can be developed.
So, Doc, let me end it at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know what you have to
Yes.
say so that we go to the other
That's
topics.
I was just making my notes. He says, did you listen to, I don't know his name, I don't know where he is.
Yeah, he was a minister during the Buhari's era, I think Minister for Sports, but they later removed him and replaced him with someone else.
Is it the guy from Plateau State?
Yeah, he's from the north, I think
Okay.
Plateau. I can't remember exactly. Yeah.
Fine. Whosoever he is, he says that the Supreme Court has reconfigured, a reconfiguring of democracy. And the consequence of this reconfiguration of democracy by the Supreme Court is that if now you want to win election, you have to go and do what? Lobby INEC.
INEC.
Campaign in INEC office. Make friends with the INEC chairman, whom in this current dispensation is Mahmoud. He said that this is a current departure from what is called election. This is a radical departure from what is called election. The former NBA president called it, this is a consequence of judicial capture. Judicial capture. Okay? So there is nothing to say. That is what we've been saying. That's what we've been talking about. I think the title of this our show tonight should actually be "It is official." The use of IREV is as how did the judge say it? Use of IREV information is unlawful, illegal, and unconstitutional. You risk being jailed by referring to those lawfully signed paths to electoral integrity, because the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria signed it into law. However, the judges have now reconfigured it according to this gentleman here. Reconfigured it and say what is legal, what is constitutional today is nothing else other than the favor that INEC can extend to you. If you miss INEC's favor, you are breaking the law. Nigeria, that is it. That's the nation we found ourselves today. It's a state capture. It's judicial capture.
Yes, Doc. So we move over to the economy. Things are not looking good at the moment. During the day, I streamed a video here showcasing Aisha Yusuf, where she was like lambasting those seeking for Peter Obi's idea. They were like, she was like they shouldn't dare call Peter Obi. And even before now, some people have been like canvassing that this current government should invite people like Peter Obi to also give them, ideas on how to do some of the things they are supposed to be doing in order to stabilize our economy. But this government, they don't know what they are doing. When you look at the way things are going, they are just after, where do we get the money? Where do we get the money? Nobody is even talking of, the leakages we have in Nigeria. We have so much leakages that no matter what they borrow now, it will make no sense. The effects will not be felt by the Nigerian people. It will just be, you will just hear that they got this money, but you will not see it, reflecting on our economy and the way we live our lives. So people are like asking that they should look for other people's idea. They shouldn't just depend on their own idea, because for how long now that they came into power, how many months have gone, there is still no structure in place. And don't forget, during one of the interviews, not really an interview, I think the sitting president spoke one time and said he's not going to share his ideas so that they don't steal it. So, but we've not seen those ideas, come to play since he took over power. And it's a bit worrisome, the state of things in Nigeria. So I'm going to quickly play this video, Doc, before I bring you in to share your thoughts, where this man is saying that they shouldn't be ashamed. They should go out and look for people who can come to help them out. So just take a look at this video.
And just trying to add, additional things. But I believe the most important thing government has to do is to look inward and say, what can we do? Let them call some Nigerians. Let them stop thinking they know it all. Let them call some Nigerians. Nothing is wrong with that. Nothing is wrong with calling some Nigerians and say, what do you think? How do we solve this problem?
Right. Paul, let's bring you back in here. I mean, Mr. Wabara is saying, look, it's really not about those. He thinks the issue of buying vehicles and all of that, they are money.
So, Doc, let me just leave it there, because I just wanted us to hear where he was talking about bringing in other people to give them idea on how to.
And GDP growth. We talked about the interest rates and inflation. Real rates are negative. If your rates are not negative, your money will start chasing foreign exchange and your dollar rates will go up. So what we have just been saying is what the minister has said to about the challenge we have is debt. The biggest challenge we have in Nigeria today is our debt profile, and it's choking everything. And if we're not careful, it's going to make monetary policy irrelevant. So, which is why I've said that one of the most important things we need to talk about is our population also, which we don't talk about. We have 130 million Nigerians in poverty. We have become a sachet economy. Even luxury drinks, Chelsea Dry Gin was the first to go sachets. Hennessy VSOP is now doing sachets. So everybody,
VSOP?
Yes, they are doing sachets. Sachets. Oh no, yes, everything is sachets. Every retailer now has to have affordable packs. So if you don't have that, that shows you that your 200 million population, instead of being a population of 200 million consumers with purchasing power, has now become a liability because they are not employed. There is no productivity within the economy. And so this is where you are having that challenge. So we need to grow our economy by 8.
Doc, let me leave it here because there is a glitch happening. So you've heard what he has said. He made reference to our population. We have this number, this huge number, the population-wise, but it appears our population, we are not taking advantage of it. So it's now turning to a liability to the country. You heard him call the economy we have now as a sachet economy. We have a sachet economy where you have to split whatever item you are selling, the sizes, reduce it so that people will be able to buy it. that has made us not to have that strong purchasing power. So it appears the population of Nigeria is worthless at the moment because despite the number, we don't have employment. So people are not working. They don't have money. They turn out to become a liability. Assuming people are working, you know, they have money in their pockets. These things that they reduce in sachet sizes, people can easily afford it in its full or in their full sizes. So I don't know what you have to say, but honestly, so many people have been asking and suggesting that people like Peter Obi should lend his voice in, you know, advising the current government on how to go about this, because Peter Obi has always said production is the way out, but from the look of things, they don't even know how to dive into that.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
I'll probably surprise you. This government is a succeeding and successful government. Don't quote me until you hear my reason. My reason is because whenever you want to do a project, you have the plan for the project. You execute a plan, isn't it? This government have a plan. They're executing it, and it is producing results. Was he not the man who became the president today that used his mouth to say that the way to go is to take away from the people their purchasing power, increase the tax net, impoverish them? How can you say they are not succeeding? They don't need P2B because P2B will reverse the plan. The man used his mouth to say that statistics will go chop. They don't need P2B because P2B is a man with number, with statistics, who will tell you that numbers don't lie. This is where we are, this is what we have to do, and this is where we are going. So P2B is going to be a round peg in a square hole in this whole echo chamber of APC and Tinubu-nomics. There is an economic policy that they are running, and it is producing just the result. I don't know, do you have that video where that statement, I sent it to you, I don't know, the last thing I sent to you, where there was that particular statement? It was in the same place where he said we need to hire 50 million youths, put them in the army and give them agbado and corn. Is that not what they're being reduced? They told us what they would do before they captured us. They have captured us. We are now being exploited. But you know one thing? When a system, when a people, when a government decides to be unlawful in their governance, decides to be exploitative of the people, decides to impose themselves on the people, it is not a matter of can they fall or if they will fall. It is a matter of when, because they are headed for their fall. It's not today that it started. Kingdoms rise, kingdoms fall. As a Christian, my Bible tells me that it's only righteous governance, righteous acts, and righteousness that sustains a system. Any system that does not govern, that does not look and relate with people from the background of righteous conduct, empathy, is bound. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when will they collapse. We've seen it. They've come, they've gone. But like they say, history repeats itself, but men are quick to forget history. I don't know how quick it will happen, but I know that this system is not sustainable. They will collapse on themselves. So they are succeeding based on their set out plan. They said it, take away their purchasing power, increase the taxation they will pay. You know, and if they like, we can take 50 million of their boys when their own children are flying presidential jets to go watch polo, and they are making their own children judges, And in the midst of this time when people are living off sachet, they are buying themselves a 160 million naira car, renovating government with their own properties where they will not live. Can't you see that we are running there are two kinds of people in Nigeria? Those who have captured Nigerians, those who have taken Nigerians hostage, and the hostage taker. Do you understand? Just like they talk about the Hamas. Those who are sponsoring those boys, they are in Qatar and in other parts of the world, living luxurious life, and have other people trapped in Gaza. That's exactly what we are seeing in Nigeria. So they are succeeding on their own, based on their own definition. Now, statistic we go talk, we no hear them. Didn't we hear it? The man who say we no go chop statistics is your president. What do you expect? You expect information-based analysis? You expect economic policies that is guided by research and development or research? No. And you're asking a processed, organized, forward-thinking man. I beg, show me that video where that woman again was saying that her picture is trending all over Malawi just because she contacted P2B. I don't know if you have it. I don't know if you have it here, Doc. No problem. It's trending. Every Nigerians know that. Yes. Every Nigerians know that. I think we should call it off here.
Peter Obi is acknowledged across the globe. Honestly, it's only in Nigeria. I don't know. A woman was analyzing, some of these headlines today on Arise Television, and there's this term that she used, to describe the kind of people we have in leadership. I don't know if you saw it. This Constance somebody. She was like, low-headed. I don't know. There's a way she described the people we have in position of power, people that have no clue, on how to solve problems. Do you know the biggest challenge we have today is that our leaders are not creative. Our leaders are not creative. And somebody like the president of Nigeria, considering his age, do you think he can lie down on the bed and begin to think on what do I do? He's depending on these people he has appointed, and whereby these people don't even know what to start doing. What do you think? Nigeria will keep sinking. So let me just end this program with this Peter Obi's video, just a short clip, and please just bear with us. We'll soon be done for tonight. Just a short clip, and we call it
diaspora remittances than Nigeria. Because if you go around now, they've invested in education, they invested in anything. In the Egypt HDI in the next 1 or 2 years will be high. Nigeria is still low. We started with them in year 2000, low. They've now gone to medium and now moving to high. Everybody we've met, Ghana was low, they now moved to medium. Bangladesh have moved to medium. Everybody, we are the only people who are stuck in low. And we are now receding in low. Because nobody cares. My plea to you this evening is, please, do not bequeath your grandchildren anarchy. That's where we're going. It's not about the election. It's not about who will be the next president. No, it's not about who will be able to be in position to be using sarin. It's not about who will be able to share. There's nothing to share again. It's finished. We need wealth creators. Now, we need somebody that can create wealth. Everything that is left in that pot is gone. It is not a time for rascality. It is not a time for careless talk. We need somebody that can understand how to build an intangible and tangible assets of a nation building. Who has connection globally that can stand and speak to colleagues and plead with them to come and save Nigeria. Or who would be refugees. None of you can wash plates outside here. None of you can sweep anything. Your drivers can. Imagine what it is now if you live here and you get to another country and the only job left is to wash plates. can you do it? You cannot. You want to go in peace. Most of you at the departure lounge, you want to go in peace. You don't want to go.
Yes, that is Peter Obi speaking. This clip is short. Honestly, when listening to this man, you enjoy his words of wisdom. You know, this is leadership. You know, leadership in action. And what baffles me is some of these are elder statements. When they listen to all these things, still some of them will be easily influenced. When they are given money, no doubt they keep the people poor so that they can easily manipulate them.
Okay,
I don't know.
This is my take. He made this statement to the board of trustees of People's Democratic Party when he was pitching himself to be the candidate of the party. Yet they rejected him. That's on the day this political party rejected a man who made this speech was the day that political party died. PDP will never recover as a political party until this idea comes back to work for them. I don't need to talk of APC. APC was a mess, and it's still a mess. And so whether Daniel Bwala is confusing himself talking about Atiku on the ticket. Did you hear what he says? Most of you on the departure launch. Do you know what he was referring to? He's not referring to physical airport. He's referring to their age. They are about to go. They are about to exit this world. Should we be asking Atiku to come and rescue us? Is it not time for Atiku to gather young men and say, we couldn't brace this tape, but this is a bundle of our ideas and resources. We'll use it to support you. Must he be a president?
Must he be a president?
Like, so we'll get another kind of president like the one we have now? Is that what we are looking for? Is that what we are looking for as a nation? Nigeria can never recover until men and the ideas that run like that of P2B comes on the table. And Nigerians, I need to sign out this night by telling you, we need to do whatever it needs to bring men like P2B and ideas like that of P2B in our government houses. Look at Abia State. Look at it. Okay.
Yes, Abia State is doing very well. The man is doing very well, honestly. Doc, let's quickly take, I think we have like 2 comments here.
I have said it that P2B is not a fitting peg in this system. This system are set in their ways. Forget all this one. Even the man who was saying that this government need help, did the government say they need help? Are they acting as if there is an issue? Their lifestyle, their body language, their utterances, does it look like they see that there's a problem? They are enjoying the best of their lives. When a retiring justice of the Supreme Court complained, did you hear them say anything? Even the judiciary, did they even challenge him? When our president was in Saudi Arabia and they returned our citizens, did you hear anything from him? It was Onyama, the owner of the aircraft, that is talking. What has the owner of aircraft even got to do with the policy of immigration? Is he the spokesperson of the Minister of External Affairs? Is he the ambassador of Nigeria to the Kingdom of the Saudi Arabia? Our president was in that country when they returned our citizens. They don't need P2B because P2B is like saying, I can see this medicine. It cures malaria. And then someone is suffering from snake bite. And you say, oh, where is that malaria tablet? Bring it. It is an efficient medicine, but it is not a cure for that. These people have intentional policy they're executing. And that policy says impoverish them, take away their purchasing power, and feed fat on their blood, feed fat on their future. Why would they need P2B? Because P2B will reverse the course of what they're doing. To be helped to get the coming back of than Tinubu going to ask him. That's the white man. Good night.
Oh my God.
See you
Oh
tomorrow,
my God,
please.
Nigerians, we really appreciate you people for joining us. Okay, this person is still. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, bye.
Thank you. We look forward to a new Nigeria, no matter the strategy they are using, even if they've ganged up to hijack INEC, to hijack the judiciary. We, the citizen, the power belongs to us. Power belongs to the people. We will still take back this country. We know that Nigerians do no longer want APC, and they know that. That is why they want to use the judiciary now to arrest all the states of the federation. They want to ensure that they place APC governors in the states. Just against 2027, this is what these people are working towards. They are not thinking of what is happening in the country, how the people are going hungry, people can't eat, transportation is increasing by the day. They are not looking at those things. They are just like working for 2027. I'm just like, I don't know, does it mean these people, there is nothing like empathy in their dictionary? You don't understand what people are going through. People are going through a lot. People are really going through a lot. And last time I shared with you guys that there were these two human beings, a man and a woman, who were burnt. I think that was in Anambra State, because they stole something and they were burnt, as in you could see them before they lit fire on them. So that is the nation we are in. And if you could ask them now, their excuses might be that they were hungry or they didn't have anything to feed them. Though it's not a justifiable reason for one to go and steal. But you can imagine the extent to which this government is pushing the people to the wall. That is where we are. So we look forward to a new Nigeria, and I want to urge you guys not to give up in your dream, your belief in the person of Peter Obi, and your dream for a new Nigeria. We know that it's possible. When we all come together, they will know that power belongs to the people. And we are ready to see that change happen. In this our dispensation, this our time is going to happen. So guys, I want to really